Hey guys, it's Alex from Fast Fitness Tips here. I've been looking forward to this one for quite a while. It's a launch. Basically, I get really excited about these software launches. I'll be honest, this one was already out, but the creator, Christophe Balestra, has been kind enough to let Fast Fitness Tips give you like a soft launch, a relaunch of this absolutely awesome bike fitting software. It's called Motion Assist, motionassist.com. Check it out now. Basically, this is a bike fit software which enables you to measure the geometry of your bike, but not just the geometry, your correct position on the bike. So you know all those photos that you see online, all the videos with the angle analysis, like what's the correct torso angle, what's the correct knee angle, actually live on the bike. That's the clever thing. And what's more, this software is totally free and it's web-based, no download is necessary. Of course, you need to get a picture of yourself on the bike, ideally with a plain background or maybe even a video analysis. The software will cope with that. What I'm going to do today, not just give you the heads up on this software, I'm going to present it as an interview with the creator. Also, I'm going to show you how the software is actually used with a rider who's written to me, like in a coaching capacity, asking us here at Fast Fitness Tips, can we improve his position on the bike? I guess the challenge for us is, can we use this software to improve his position on the bike from just a slightly lower quality, slightly rotated photo? You know, it's not a classic studio photo. I realize not all of you are going to have access to that. So let's see how we do with that. Okay, so without further ado, guys, here comes an interview with Christophe, the creator of the program. In the second part, we're going to show you like a demo, a show reel of what motionassist.com can achieve. So I'm here with Christophe. Christophe is a triathlete. We've just met today, and you've created a fantastic piece of software, Motion Assist, which in its essence helps people get their bike fit, or at least helps them understand the geometry of their fit to the bike. I'm really amazed by this software because a couple of things make it really appealing to people. And I honestly don't know how many people know about it right now. I mean, first of all, it's actually free right now. I don't know if it's going to stay that way. I'm sure you're going to comment on that. But it's also web-based. So you can very easily upload a photo or video of yourself on the bike. Ideally, you know, like with good angles and good lighting, etc. But basically you can upload your photo, and you've put some tools there which provide some really clever analysis very, very simply. Where did you come up with this idea? Because it's fantastic what you've done.
Well, thank you first. First of all, it was just frustration of like not finding a tool that would do that. Like it didn't seem crazy to me to be able just to want to have calculate angles on an image or something like that. And there's nothing just very available on, it would be on Windows and not on Mac and this and that. So that's why I decided just to do it on the web to make sure like it was very accessible to anybody. And then just from there, I just started just to add more options to it, so people can like calculate angles, distances, and even draw like more annotations with text and circles and all that stuff, so that you can kind of like just highlight what's important to you. And then I wanted to compare my position with my old position, so I added like a way to have you can have two videos at the same time, or two images, or one video, one image, and you can kind of like compare them. You can overlay them. You can just line them up easily, and that was kind of like also a good way just to kind of like compare before and after, or like even just if you want to compare yourself with someone else. And like so I know some people look at pros and like maybe they want just to look at how they stack against like pros. So like say, well, why not then? So that it seemed like it was the right next step to have for the Motion Assist.
No, I can see that when you put something like this out there, it can be a little bit hard for beginners or people who are not used to bike fit type of stuff to understand. How do we know that people will kind of use the tool in the right way? Like, how do we know their geometry is not like all off and they're all rotated, and how can we get the accuracy pinned down?
Well, ultimately, I think I need to probably add more to motion assist in terms of like explaining people how you need to take a proper video. When you take your knee angle, where does it? You have 3 points. Where are those points? Like we need to educate people also like on how to do those things. So that would be definitely like the next step where just we'll help people like just kind of like doing it right because it's just complicated and like and you have to read so much about it. So if they can find all the information there, that would be ideal. And I'm kind of like just looking like for someone to partner with, or like so someone can help me with that, because I'm not a bike fitter. So I don't want just to put things out there that are wrong. I don't know. I'm trying to make it as user-friendly as possible, but I think it can be even better.
Okay, but you've all done a really nice introductory explainer video just recently, so people can check that out. It's on YouTube. I'll provide the link. But I guess what you're saying is there's like several steps. There's like your natural position on the bike. There's the taking the photo and the image. There's the mapping the angles. But then there's the interpretation, isn't there, at the end of the day? Like what's right, what's wrong. You know, it's like a mixture of art and science, isn't it? Bike fit. It's one where people get quite hot under the collar. They can have a lot of arguments. You know what? It's often about what's the objective of the rider. Is there a problem they want to fix? Are they trying to get more comfortable? Are they trying to get more aero? You start with the basic premise of what's the objective here. But what you're doing is you're not so much providing the interpretation right now. I can understand why you're cautious, but you are providing a lot of tools to help map out what they are actually riding with, like their hip angle, their torso angle, their knee angle, at the top of the stroke, at the bottom of the stroke. That stuff is very, very valuable. Now, how do we know, how can the user adjust their image so that it's correctly orientated? You know, because it's so easy to take a photo, but when you look at it on the screen, it's actually rotated. It's like, you know, the perspective is wrong.
Yeah, I kind of assume that no pictures would be just perfect on the side, or like you might get like a picture from your trainer. That's great. You can just like make it perfect, but also like people like get pictures on race day, and that is not exactly quite right. So I just wanted to have a way to account for that. So you can like calibrate your image. The most simple one is a line where you can just kind of say, oh, this is like I don't know, like 1 meter here. So you know that between your wheels or something like that. And then we can extrapolate all the other distances from that. If the perspective is not quite perfect, then I added another thing that lets you like kind of like place the two wheels, like the top of both wheels and the middle of both wheels, which kind of like will calculate like the perspective of your image and like how the rider is into that image. And then anything that you add to the image after that, angles or distances will be based on that perspective. So that just even if you don't have the perfect image, you can still kind of like calculate the right angles or like distances.
Very, very clever. So who do you think this is going to appeal to? I mean, what kind of cyclist are we kind of reaching out for here?
Well, I think it's anyone who's interested in getting more comfortable on their bike, or someone who wants just to go faster and be more optimal. So ideally, I think the platform should facilitate like communication with other people who do have the knowledge. It could be bike fitter, it could be friends who have knowledge about how you should be positioned on the bike. So a lot of people have opinions about that. So that's kind of like where I hope it's going.
Now, I know that's not, you know, hundreds of thousands of users, but still coaches would use it. And there's this big movement now, I'm sure you've been following it, like peer-to-peer coaching with Beretta and Intervals ICU. These could be brilliant partner platforms for you, I think. But I would just say a shout out to anyone who wants to help another rider with their fit. This is a great tool to use. So I'm just amazed how user friendly it is, how accurate it is, and how cheap it is.
Yeah, yeah.
Now
So
I don't
far,
want
it's
to
very
say too
cheap. Yeah.
much because I think you have a right to charge for it. What's your plans in that regard?
Like there is like a coach from a national team actually just talked who's been using it for mountain bikers, and he said like I talked to him and he's like, do you have any advice? I asked him if he had any advice and he said, well, yeah, you should charge for it. So I don't think I'm there yet because I don't think like the product is not quite ready. But at some point, I mean, eventually I'll need to cover the cost for like at least the storage and the servers. That's but for now I'm just trying like to have as many people using it so that I can get the most feedback just to make it very good, and then we'll see there. We'll see after that like where what we have to do.
Definitely. Let's get the word out there. I'll tell you one thing I'd like to see, if I may give you a little bit of feedback.
Sure.
If you upload a video, you know, the video analysis, right now you can overlay the graphics on the video, and that is helpful. You can pause the video at any point, like at the top of the pedal stroke, for example. But what about the option of a dynamic analysis? You see it in some tools.
You're talking about like tracking motion, or
Yes,
like,
tracking.
I've been working on it. The tracking motion. I just want to make sure it stays user friendly. So I mean, the tech is there. So eventually, I think I will probably release it. It's just a matter of like making sure like it doesn't like over complicate things for like people who are gonna just start using the site. So, but yeah, it will. It's in the. It's part of the roadmap, so it will eventually happen for sure.
To make it work perfectly, you might need to give an instruction for people to purchase or use tracking markers.
Sure.
Because I know it's very hard. It depends on the resolution and everything else, but in terms of contrast, it's hard for video sometimes to pick out those points.
But that's also like one of the issues is the quality of the video, because if you have a video that has a shutter rate that's just too slow, then it's gonna be very blurry, and then it's very hard to track something that's very blurry. If the lighting is kind of like changing, like there's a lot of things that I think also we need to explain how just to take the videos like properly, which most phones or webcams are capable of doing if you can usually tweak those things. So yeah, we'll get to that as well. You can record videos directly from the website, and I'll probably just add more explanation there at some point.
Well, great job, Christophe. It's amazing what you've done so far. Thanks. I must just ask you, what else are you working on? What have you got up your sleeve right now?
I have another website called upstry.com where you can check out like results and tons of stats about like Ironman races. That's been going for a couple of years now. And I'm also working on a fantasy triathlon league because I realized like it didn't exist. And so that's one of my other projects just that I'm doing for fun as well.
Oh, nice work. Awesome. Well, I look forward to seeing how this actually gets perfected, and I'm interested in helping you roll it out, or at least putting the word out there, because I just
thank you very much.
An amazing program, and I'm already using it for people I'm helping. You know, I wouldn't say it's a good program unless I felt it was a good program myself. So great work, and
thank you so much.
Best of luck.
Thank you so much. All right, thanks a lot.
Okay. See you. Hey Saeb, it's Alex from FastFitnessTips here. You asked me recently to respond to your image. You've been doing a few time trials in London. Awesome effort there, by the way. You asked me to give you a quick heads up on your position, like a position analysis. And as you know, we're pretty keen on these kind of metrics at FastFitnessTips, so we should be able to help you out. We've got a few tools up our sleeves that we use for analysis. Plus, we're working on a really big calculator to look at geometry, that's geometry of the bike, the frame set, and also rider position on the bike, which, as you know, can be vitally important. Now, anyone who's doing TT or Tri knows aero position is a very dominant factor. You know, position on the bike could be number one out of all things that you can change. So if that's number one, obviously we have to address it. You've given me a short video. It's not the highest quality, it's not the optimum angle, but we can still use it. We can still use it, and we just uploaded it to MotionWiseSys. It's motionwisesys.com. If any of your viewers want to check this out, it's a great way of getting little angles on the screen. You can work with video or stills. For example, let's say you want to know the torso angle. Look, it should be totally lined up. I'm going to say that. There's some rotation on here, but let's put that to one side. We're working with what we've got. Let's say we want the torso angle. Let's do shoulder, hip, and then horizontal. You know, we're talking about an angle there of about 17 degrees. Is that of any importance in itself? Well, yes, because the lower you get at the front, the lower your frontal area, the smaller your frontal area. And essentially, the amount of frontal area is the amount of air displacement that you're making as you go through the air, as you know. We've got a lot of calculators, some of which we haven't released, but like if we went on to this little FastFitnessTips, very back of the envelope type of calculation, and we put in your torso angle 17 degrees, that's it pictured there. Torso to hip angle combined also would be, you know, guesstimate 67, frontal area guesstimate 0.423. Let's say you're riding an average 40 kPa. Your position is quite an efficient one for power delivery. By the way, that's another way of saying it's pretty relaxed. In terms of TT rides anyway, it'd be a very good long distance ride position on a tri bike. But on the TT bike, it's a little bit relaxed. So we give your aero position in terms of kind of aero drag a score of about 0.47 and 0.4 altogether. Now, if you were to reduce that torso angle to 9, let's say, you know, or even tighter, you would get a better score. But it's not all about the score. You've got to have the power delivery as well. Okay, so that's one of the tools we've got behind the scenes. Now, briefly talking through your position, I think that's what you might find most helpful. Well, just using my eyes on your photo, I can see a few things that stand out. Now, remember, when you're talking about aero drag, everything's got to be as smooth as possible. You don't want any undue lips, catches, flappy material. You know, your skin suit's pretty tight. It's looking good. That's fine. Think you've got aero socks, aero shoes, aero shoe covers. All good. Bike looks good. Water bottle adds a tiny bit of drag. You've got your equipment behind the saddle sheltered in your own wake, which is absolutely fine. So what about the angles? Well, as I said, start with the torso angle. Your torso angle could be tighter, and at the top of the pedal stroke, it's giving you a kind of hip angle compression of around about 48, let's say, on this in green. So that's not too bad. That's a pretty tight angle. Obviously, that does compress with longer cranks and also lower seat position. Actually, on the seat position, in my opinion, your saddle height is probably a little bit low here. Not by much, but I think you could afford to put it up. If you put the saddle height up and the front end down, it naturally puts you in a more aggressive position into the wind. Now, you do that gradually, step by step. So literally, we're talking about maybe 0.5 centimeter, 5 millimeters per trial or per week would be sufficient. What you do is you make an adjustment, accommodate to that adjustment, and then make another adjustment. So my recommendation is put the saddle height up 0.5. Check that your pedal stroke still feels fine. You know, we've got a whole video on saddle height and the adjustments, right? And a whole video on crank size. And we've got a whole calculator on the effect of crank size on bike fit. That's on our sister channel, Cycling Apps. You can look that up. I want to change my crank length is one of our tools. So yeah, for sure, check that out. Going back to your photo, I would say that your crank length looks okay. So you should be able to accommodate, you know, roughly 1 to 2 centimeter change in your saddle height without really worrying your crank length in terms of your knee angles, etc. So I would say go up in your saddle height, start with 0.5 and then go to 1 centimeter. Go down on the front end, again, in small gradations, 0.3 or 0.5 centimeter, take out one small spacer initially. Now, everyone would probably comment on this yellow angle, which is your shoulder, forearm to upper arm angle. In pro riders, that's often kind of locked in about 90 degrees. Actually, that doesn't make a big difference for aero, so it's not a big deal. And the fact that your shoulder, back or torso angle there, this angle is not quite 90, it's close to 90, doesn't make a big difference. So don't worry about that so much in terms of aero. That's actually about reach. Remember, the Superman position was really stretched out, so that's like super aero. But your arms, it's not a good picture for this, but if you had the frontal view, I've seen it going around the track, your arms are a long way apart. So your arms should be closer together. So you want to bring those spaces in. What that does is it naturally tucks the elbows in, it tucks the hands in, and it actually tweaks the shoulder position. So you feel like your shoulders are being pulled in. And the shoulders are a big source of drag when you look at the frontal area. For sure, send me a picture of your frontal profile. But I can tell you now, the space horizontally between left and right arms is a little bit big there. Okay, going up to the helmet area, I can tell you that there's a little bit of a dip or cavity between your helmet and your back. It's a minimal gain, like literally 1 to 3 watts maybe, filling that in. If you fill it in with a longer helmet, a big aero helmet, that would be an advantage. Up to 5 watts max of going really long along your back. Some people don't like those helmets. They do feel odd if you tend to look around a lot. So if you want to stick with your current helmet, I would just say watch out for that angle that I'm highlighting there. It can create a little bit of turbulence. Now, I personally am a fan of visors. Most wind tunnel tests shows that a short visor doesn't have any big advantage over goggles, but a lot of the very latest helmets have a very full frontal visor. And I think there's 1 to 2 watts to be gained from a full visor if you wanted to go that way. Okay, that's quite a lot on your fit. It's a little bit dry in isolation. So what I want to show you is by source of comparison, a pro rider's fit compared to yours. So if you just memorize your angles for a second, so you got that 17 degree torso angle, looking at the downstroke, okay, not completely vertical there, but it's very close to 82. Looking at the upstroke, so hip angle at the upstroke, 48, and knee angle 64, okay, and 110 on the front end. Let's go to Rowan Dennis, shall we? Enter Rowan Dennis. Nice picture. We've got his cranks maximum up and down 0 and 180 position. Look at his torso angle. It's around about 14 degrees, which is tight. It's tight. That enables him to get a hip angle with the upstroke around about 43. Not that vastly different to yours, but still you can see that compression there. He's got room to go tighter here. And on the downstroke, he's got quite a wide open hip, 84 degrees. Knee angle, that's average 140 degrees, let's say, measured there rather than at the vertical. And he's got those two shoulder and elbow angles locked in at 90. And look at his helmet, there's no real lift there. And also if you draw a line from his back to his helmet, that is pretty smooth. Now, just in case you thought, well, that's crazy, I can't get like Rowan Dennis, that's fine. Yeah, he's pro rider. He's accommodated, he's been into the wind tunnel, he's trained, but he's by no means cutting edge in time trial terms. Check out Victor Campenaerts. Victor Campenaerts, European, was he record holder, obviously did the world hour record. His position is even more aggressive. He's got that long tail helmet, very little gap there, very flat back, very tight angle, 90 degree on the front end. Okay, his crank position's a bit messed up there, so we can't really comment on that. You want to go even more extreme? Okay, check out Jonathan Castroviejo, previously at Sky, now at INEOS. He gets into some crazy positions in the TT bike. His back is completely horizontal. He rides way forward on the tip of that saddle, meaning that the seat tube angle is really tight, i.e. close to vertical. And he puts his head down, turtles it, whenever he can. I mean, his back is basically going downhill with a decline here. It's quite unbelievable if you look at it that way. Unbelievably tight angles, guys. Not that I'm expecting you to do that by any means. Now, we've looked in our wide database. We're still collecting data, BikeFit data, and we can see what typical riders are doing. I can tell you that, very roughly, if you looked at the torso angle, 18% are riding in a super aggressive position. That's mostly road bike users with 20-degree torso angle or lower. That would be like a pro road bike user or TT bike user. Very typical rider would be 40-degree torso angle, and relaxed would be 60 degrees. On the hip angles, pro would be combined with the hip angle around about 40 degrees, typical 80, very relaxed, casual rider 100. What about knee position? Well, yeah, let's go back to Dennis here. Knee position at the top of the stroke, way under 90 or 80 degrees in a TT or pro. Maybe, 100, 105 in a typical or relaxed rider. And at the bottom, as we've already seen here, those angles get really kind of open in a way as they kind of, reach down to have, very good sized cranks, not too big, not too small. Okay, I hope that's useful for a little analysis of your photo. Yes, it is rather crude. And look, a few caveats. If you want to do a gold standard watts versus position analysis, yeah, you've got to do it in controlled conditions, like actually measure your CDA in the wind tunnel. Of course, that's the gold standard, or in the velodrome. But, you could do on the road in controlled conditions, ideally no wind. You can do it in the Chung spreadsheet, or you can also use one of these new devices, Nocio, Aero Lab, Aeropod, Swisside. They're all coming out this year to enable riders to do that. So good riding, well done. A few tips for you there. Try and do before and after kind of video or photo. Think of it incrementally. You're making gradual improvements here. The reason for gradual is so that it doesn't impair or restrict your power. Make a change that improves aero but doesn't deteriorate your power. That way you're going in the right direction. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed that. That was a demonstration of our best, most favored bike fitting software on the market. Okay, it might not be the most sophisticated. Post me down below if you've got suggestions on alternative software, but it is super user friendly, free right now, and web-based. All you need to do, take a photo, upload it. And I'm going to give you a freebie for making it to the end, guys. For those of you who made it to the end, if you're a member of our Strava Club, and that's free to join, you can send me a photo of yourself or video, info@FastFitnessTips or coaching@FastFitnessTips, and I will do your analysis for free, just like I did with Mirza Saeed Beg. That's an offer I'm making to you, totally free of charge. Take it or leave it, but it's there, guys, just as a thank you for watching Fast Fitness Tips and joining our Strava Club. All right, check us out on social media. You should know the links by now. Fast Fitness Tips on Patreon, Instagram, Facebook, Strava. Check us out. Until the next video, guys, take care. See you around.